Welcome to Burlesk Custom Guitars. Guitars have been my passion for my entire life. Handcrafted by my hands to be played by yours. Each one I create is like no other. My name is James. Come along with me on this musical journey. I just finished up this Ernie Ball Eddie Van Halen neck for Neil.
Mm.
Yeah, just cleaning up the goop. Not much there.
Good.
Yeah, so they were in really bad shape before. Now they're all like new.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's never had them done. This guitar's from 1993.
Wow.
Yeah, they were really bad actually. But not anymore. Back to normal.
Lightning fast.
Yes. Yes.
So what's next for this guitar?
Oh, I have a whole bunch of body work to do. I'm gonna touch up all of this for him.
Oh, right.
Clean that all up. And there's a burn mark on here that he had buffed in just with some guitar polish with his finger. So I'm gonna buff the whole top out and
Great.
try
It'll
to,
be good to see it after.
yeah. Needs its oil changed. 10W30 or 40, I can't remember, so I gotta call Neil and find out. That's a nice neck shim, eh? Talk to you later.
Hi, James.
Hi.
What are you doing?
I am drawing up a baritone neck with an angled headstock.
Oh.
And I like to, before I build anything, I like to draw it all out. Truss rod channel, and this is gonna have graphite reinforcement rods in it as well, so I gotta do all of that, draw them in. Problem with doing an angled headstock is you gotta do everything upside down.
I'm gonna put my shadow there with my big finger.
So you got, your luthier's, Spanish luthier's joint. It's all pretty rough. Still got to do the headstock. All kinds of stuff still to do. It's going to have a volute on it, but it's a baritone neck. So
what is going to be on it?
a volute.
What is a volute?
Volute is a reinforcement right here on the neck on an angled headstock that some builders put on there, and it just basically reinforces where the neck joint is. And it also just strengthens them, reinforces and strengthens.
So I see you've got a reference sheet there of all the specs for this particular build.
Yep.
Yeah, all the notes and everything that you sat down with the client.
This is the client actually. Once I gave him all of this information, what we needed, and he filled it all out after we sat down and discussed the materials he wanted, and we double checked and crossed the T's and dotted the I's.
Excellent.
Yes.
Okay, so you're just sketching out the overall layout of this neck.
Yes. Yes.
And you mentioned it's a baritone neck.
Yes. So it's a 28.5-inch scale as opposed to 25.5-inch scale.
Yeah, quite a bit larger, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
But it gives you a unique sound, and you play with heavier strings. It's a little bit of a different tone. A lot of people are using these days. A lot of younger bands and stuff are realizing the baritone guitar.
Oh yeah?
Yep.
And why?
Just a different sound, heavier tones. It's better for like drop tunings and stuff like that. If you're going to do drop tunings, it's a lot nicer to play a baritone scale because the strings don't turn to mush as you're trying to get super low tunings and stuff, and with the extra scale length, you're kind of right in between a bass and a guitar. I am getting this pink Stratocaster for my client Robert ready for some clear coat.
Oh,
Just
wow.
making it nice and smooth, taking any little defects off with a supremely high. I've already sanded it a couple times, but this is like the final. Just got to make sure there's no boogers in there and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then it's ready for clear coat.
Has he seen the color yet?
No. Well, he saw it on another guitar, but he has not seen this guitar yet.
Oh, that'll be so exciting.
Yeah, and it's gonna have all white heart or white. It's gonna have a white pickguard, and I've already done the electronics on it. I've upgraded all the electronics and stuff, and done the frets. And,
How so?
I put in a. I actually did something really neat. I put because it's an HSS Strat, which means humbucker single. I put in a blues bucker in the bridge position.
Mm-hmm.
I left the original pickup, the reverse wound single coil in, and then I put an FS1 DiMarzio in, which is David Gilmour's neck pickup as well. So it's going to have a really nice, versatile sound.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, we'll keep with it and watch as it progresses.
Yeah. I will show you when she's sprayed and clear coated.
What are you doing down here?
Oh, I'm about to modify the hell out of this Ibanez guitar for my client Mohammed.
Oh.
Yeah, gonna take out the middle pickup, wire it up so that the two humbuckers work on the 5-way switch, doing all kinds of crazy splitting and stuff. Gonna add a new pickguard and get rid of these so it covers up the hole. All kinds of funky stuff.
It's a really nice looking guitar, isn't
That's
it?
a nice Ibanez. Their RGs are pretty classic guitars, but should be fun. I'll let you know when I'm done, and you can take some photographs, and I'll let you know if it's successful. I'm sure it will be. I am working on a Ormsby 7-string guitar
Wow.
that a client brought in for me that he just picked up. It's from Australia.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. It's climatized now, so I'm doing fret edges and...
How long's it been here?
6 months.
Okay.
That's about right. 6 months to a year. Usually they're settled down. This one sprouted. The fret edges sprouted, and just needed a little bit of polishing out and a good setup. It was literally the strings were on the fretboard when he brought it into me. So.
Oh, were they?
Yeah. Just things happen.
Yeah.
That's the way she goes.
Well, and one thing the audience needs to understand that isn't from Alberta.
Oh yes.
It's very, very dry here, like desert dry.
Yeah. We're drier here in the wintertime than Phoenix.
Really?
Yeah.
That's insane. Phoenix, Arizona, James is referring to.
Yeah.
The thing is that we're in the foothills of the mountains, which is a naturally arid area. And the only real humidity that we have naturally are rivers. We don't have a lot of large lakes and things around. The mountain lakes, of course, are incredibly beautiful. But they don't create much humidity.
And the problem is, like, you know, you get the guitarists in Calgary. It's funny. They literally change with the weather, and so many people can't understand that. But it's wood, and wood does that. If it dries up, the guitar dries up. And things start moving and shifting, and it can drive people crazy if they don't know what's going on.
What time did you finish your last guitar last night?
10:30.
And what time did you start this guitar this morning?
This morning, I started this guitar at 7:45.
7:45. So you're truly living the guitar dream. Living, breathing.
Eating and you-know-whating.
Yes. But you don't normally do it like that.
No, I'm usually a 10 to 7 kind of person, but I've been very backed up with a lot of refinishing, and
Right.
I've had some build I wasn't expecting, which I'm very grateful for, but
Yes.
Yeah, and then the repairs are always constant, so it's kind of a balancing act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the dedication that you've put forward, and that's why your clients keep coming back to you.
I think so, yes.
Yes, that's right. So back to the guitar.
Yeah.
It's really a beautiful color of blue, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's almost like a green blue.
yeah, and it's a nice guitar. Like it's one of 245
Oh, wow.
Ormsby guitars, pipe guitars. Yeah, it's a nice set neck, different headstock.
Oh, yeah. The
Yeah.
headstock's really interesting.
Yeah, no, it's a really well-made guitar, and not a very well-known brand, but they're getting out there.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, we need more unique type products out there, not mass produced, right?
Yeah, big time. Mass production has destroyed the industry, in my opinion. But
Yeah. Well, hopefully things will turn around and people will demand that they want handmade
guitars.
handmade guitars.
Everybody should demand a handmade guitar.
Yeah, I think so.
I got to get back to work.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, James. What are you working on?
I am just finishing up crowning these frets on an Ibanez RG neck.
Oh,
I've flushed them up, or leveled them up, sorry, and done the edges and stuff. And as you can see, I've crowned them, and now I'm going to polish them out. Go. Always at it. And painting at the same time.
excellent.
Never stops.
Never stops.
Nope.
Would you want it to?
Nope.
No. Do
Nope.
you love every minute of it?
I live every minute.
Do you? Is that more than love?
Yep.
That's awesome. So James, you've clear coated this guitar now, have you?
Yep.
And how many coats of that have you put on?
I put 4 coats of clear coat on, and there's, as I said before, 4 coats of paint.
Okay.
Heavy coats.
Heavy, yeah.
Yeah. I sand in between each coat, so there's not too much work to do when you're done. So you don't have to sand down too much. And as you can see, there's not a lot of orange peel, barely any. So it's kind of hard to see, but
Yeah, it sure is.
so it makes it a lot easier when you're done to actually sand that and then buff it out. A lot of people
Yeah.
wouldn't buff it out at this stage. Some people might just leave it. I mean,
No.
that's not what I do, but
No.
yep. You sand it smooth and then you buff it out.
Right.
And, then you assemble. I like it to sit for a few days too, just to make sure everything's cool.
Yeah.
Everything's adhering. There's no problems.
Yeah.
Curing is a big issue with most people. And it's like anything. I mean, you want to put it together. You're rushed. You're happy. You're ready. But the one thing I can say about refinishing is you got to have a lot of patience. And if you're going to refinish a guitar, you have to let it cure properly. If it doesn't cure, what's going to happen when you start tightening screws and putting screws in and tightening stuff on it, that's where all your crack lines are going to start spreading
Sure.
out from.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So if it's not cured and it's not hardened, it's you're just pushing it into soft material, and then what'll happen is it'll actually, that's where your cracks will start to come from, because there's a hole there originally, and then you're pushing on the inside of that or on the outside of that ridge of the hole, and it just starts a line.
Well, I know myself working in the wood industry, like even large mills that manufacture will cut the timber, but then it will be set to the side for almost a year in some cases. So with this, how long would you want this guitar to cure?
I like to wait at least a week after I've done my polish, after I've sanded it out, because you do wet sanding when you do that.
Right.
And then you polish it out. So I like to wait a week, make sure everything's fine and I'm not going to have any issues, and then I put it back together. In total, the process takes about anywhere from, depending upon what material I'm using, anywhere from 4 to 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Great. Makes sense.
Yeah.
What are you doing, James?
I am sanding out Pinky Tuscadero for Robert.
Ooh, is that what he's named her?
Yeah.
That's great.
That's a good name.
It's a great name.
Yes.
For us oldies who know what that means,
That's,
if you know what that means, put it in the comment below.
yeah, put that in the comments below if you know what. Pinky
And what else
Tuscadero.
should they do, James?
What else should they do? They should like and subscribe to the
Yeah.
page
Absolutely.
so they can see what I'm doing all the time. The
That's it.
tomfoolery and the shenanigans that I get up to here at Burlesk Guitar. Such as this.
Exactly.
I'm just getting this ready. This is just as you can see how you can see the little orange peel, as they call it. As soon as I get rid of that, then I use 1500 and 3000, and then I buff it.
That's really... Only you can see that, James.
It's pretty hard to see,
Yeah.
but you got to. This is what you got to do. This is what you got to do to make it perfect. This is what you got to do. This is what you got to do to make it perfect.
This is what you gotta do. This is what you gotta do to make it perfect. This is what you gotta do. This is what you gotta do to make it perfect. This is what you gotta do. This is what you gotta do to make it perfect.
We're as close to a factory finish as you're gonna get. Yeah, so there's quite a few steps involved. I do the dry sand with a very fine block, and I just do the front and back with the block, and then on the sides I'll use a Scotch-Brite pad, and I go all around it with by hand again. And then I take it out to the garage and I hit it with 3000, and then, or pardon me, I hit it with 1500 at 6000 RPM with my 6-inch air sander. Just doing the high speed sand with 1500 and then 3000, and then I buff it out with buffing compound.
Okay.
This is the scary part, because you gotta be really careful.
Right.
Because you can go through real easy. Your clear coat ends right through the paint if you're not careful, or if you don't have enough of the product on the body. Sorry about the noise. That's going to be running constantly. So I'll show you what I do. I've already done this stuff. Just make sure your pad's always wet. Your product's always wet. You just got to be really careful on edges. That's where you're going to have your accidents. As you can see, this isn't from even hand sanding. I don't have a lot of orange peel to get rid of, so I don't really have to do too much here, which is nice. Nothing worse than having to do it over and over and over again. That's why sanding in between coats is so important. You don't sand in between coats, you're going to end up with a big pile of orange peel on top, and then you got to sand that down level, and that's when you're going to go through. So if you don't keep it level all the way through from your build up right from the wood up, it's just going to be a mess at the end. So always sand in between coats. And then I hit it with 3000 grit, and then I buff it.
Awesome.
Yeah. Without going through. That's the trick.
Yes. I've heard you a couple of times when you've gone through.
Yes, it's not an uncommon thing. Nobody's perfect, and it's always on edges and stuff. But after you do it a few times, you kind of learn the ins and outs and the do's and don'ts of where to sand and where not to sand.
Right.
And yeah, it's just kind of like everything else. The more you do it, the better you get at it, right?
That's right.
And I've been doing it for a long time. It's tough. It's not an easy thing to learn and to perfect. It's a real art, as they say.
Yes, well, it is paint after all.
Yeah. I have been taught by some very, very, very cool people over the years, the ins and outs, and I've been given lots of tips and stuff, and yeah, just thank God for that, because it's just made my life. I mean, a lot of guys will farm it out, but I prefer not to. I mean, I want to try to do everything I possibly can, and now that I'm winding pickups, I mean, sky's the limit, right? It'll be literally almost a completely custom-made guitar, except for tuners and the bridge.
Yeah, we want to talk about pickups. I think people really have a lot of questions about pickups.
Yeah.
So maybe we could talk about pickups on the next episode.
Sure.
This episode, you promised to talk about coil taps.
Yeah, we're going to talk about coil tapping, and I'm going to go over that, and I'm even going to get some diagrams out and show you guys the different ways that we can and can't do coil tapping and what's necessary to do that.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that one next.
All right.
James,
Hey there.
Pinky's all done.
Pinky Tuscadero is ready to go.
She looks awesome.
Thank you. I call it the Easter egg finish.
Yes.
Just in time for Easter.
Well, it's a bisque or egg shell finish.
Yeah, it's like an eggshell finish. It's not super high gloss. There is actually there is clear coat on here, but
Basically, as opposed to buffing it out, this is how you get this kind of look.
Wow.
Which is very common with the pink guitars that you see out there made by Fender.
I see.
But yeah, so it's got it's been all modified. It's got a blues bucker in here and put an FS1 DiMarzio. These are both DiMarzio pickups. The FS1 is the David Gilmour preferred neck pickup. Changed the caps inside and just basically souped it up. And yeah, she sure is pretty.
Very pretty.
Yeah.
Nice.
And of course, I've taken some still photos like I always do, and you'll probably see those after the video.
Excellent.
All right. Happy Easter.
So James, as promised, now you're going to go through coil tapping with us.
Yes. Coil tapping, or coil splitting, or there's a few different names for it. There's a few things you got to know about it and what it is first. Coil tapping or coil splitting is basically the ability to turn off one of the coils on a humbucking pickup. Now, in order to do that, there's some things that or parameters you have to have. It has to have at least 3 wires or 4 wires. A 2-wire pickup you can't coil tap, unfortunately. And there are a lot of in Gibson guitars and stuff. There's just a ground and a hot, and that's it. And you can't coil tap that. But in this example here, this is an example of a 3-wire pickup. One's going to be your hot, one's going to be your other coil, and one's going to be your ground. Here's a 4-wire pickup, and one's going to be your hot, one's going to be your ground, and one's going to be your tie-off to make this a humbucker. Now, in order to coil split, all you got to do is basically remove that, and now you've got the one coil active.
Okay.
Okay? So, in order to turn these on and off, there's a few options you can do. You can use, if you only have one humbucker in your guitar, for example, if it's like an HSS Strat, you can put in a small single pole, single throw switch, which would be like an on-off basically. Turns the coil on, turns the coil off, which turns it from a humbucker into a single.
Right.
Okay? If you have a couple of humbuckers on your guitar, you can do the same thing with a switch with a double pole, double throw, right? And this is done on a lot of older guitars. You'll see guitars with switches all over them, and they're doing like out of phase and all kinds of stuff. But the most common thing is coil tapping. And my favorite is to use a push-pull switch.
Right.
To replace either your volume or your tone control. And that basically what that is a pot, a volume pot with the switch built in.
Right.
And so that basically turns your pickup into a single coil.
Two for one.
2 for 1.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So you don't have to drill any holes. It's not intrusive at all in any way. And basically you're just pulling out your old tone controller volume and putting this in its place and wiring it up so that you're able to coil tap. It's an enormous thing to do to your guitar. If you can do it, do it. I always tell people get the most out of your guitars if you can, and coil tapping opens up the doors to a completely different sound and tones and just the playing experience, really. If you can turn a Les Paul into a Strat by pulling a switch, that's pretty cool, eh?
Pretty cool.
You don't have to change guitars, you don't have to do anything. And vice versa. If you can, if you've got a humbucker in the bridge on your Strat and you want that vintage single coil sound, pull the switch and there you go. You're good to go.
Yeah.
So it's a very cool thing to do, and it opens the doors up. And like I said, get the most out of your guitar as you can. So that's basically coil tapping in a nutshell. So the parameters you got to know, I'll just go over them really quickly one more time, is you have to have at least 3-wire or 4-wire. Will not work with a 2-wire. And then you kind of got to decide what you want to do as far as the switching system goes. My favorite is this. You can even get push-pull switches that are on some Fender guitars. They are as well, they can do the same thing, a little fancier, but same idea as this. So find out your parameters and go for it.